Hi guys, today we're going to just be reviewing some music notes that we've learned over the past 2 weeks. And then after when we come back from break, we're going to be learning about things called rest. So you should be able to see the music notes somewhere on screen, either here or here or here or here, probably here. We'll see. Mrs. Young's going to figure that out afterwards. But let's get started. So the first note that we have looks like a big circle like this. It's an open circle, kind of more like an oval than a circle. And we know that that is called a whole note. And a whole note, because we know that music is cut into little pieces of four, we know that a whole note is worth 4 beats. So if I was to play a whole note, I would go 1, 2, 3, 4, or ah. Sometimes I just make a sound to do that with. So just like that, 1 and hold it for 3, 4. That's a whole note. Whole note, and then next we have a half note. A half note almost looks like a little bit of a D, right? Because it's kind of like a whole note, but it has a stem on it. So it's a little note that looks like this, and it has a stem. A half note, if a whole note is worth 4, half of 4 is 2. So a half note is worth 2 beats. Let's do that. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Because a half note can take up half of a 4-beat chunk in a measure, right? So if a whole note is 1, 2, 3, 4, a half note is 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? So we have half notes down here. Now we want to know a quarter note, and we know that a quarter note, a half note, as you can see, it's not filled in. You can see through my hand here. A quarter note, though, you cannot see through. A quarter note is just a black circle, nothing inside, no white inside of it. Black circle with a stem coming out of it. So that is a quarter note and a half note. Quarter note, if you remember, there's 4 quarters in a dollar, right? So if there's 4 quarters in a dollar, there's 4 quarter notes in a whole measure. So a quarter note is worth 1 beat. So a quarter note would be 1, 2, 3, 4. If you had your drumsticks, it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4. Or a level 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So, whole note, 1, hold it for 3, 4. Half note, hold it for 1, 2. And a quarter note, you don't even have to hold it. You just go 1, 2, 3, 4. Just clap it out, right? The last 2 notes that we learned are the eighth notes, which if you can see, probably down here, I hope it's down here. An eighth note, remember, looks just like a quarter note, filled in. It's got a stem, but it also have a little flag coming off the top of it. It has a little flag that comes off. Or if it's 2 eighth notes right next to each other, the flags kind of connect. They kind of make I almost say like a table shape with 2 little nubs on the end, right? So eighth notes have 1 flag on them, 1 little swoop or straight line that connects them. And an eighth note, remember, is worth a half of a beat. So if I have 4 beats in a measure, 1, 2, 3, 4, every time I would say a number, I would be able to fit 2 hits into there. So if I was counting 1, 2, 3, 4, remember, if you watch my hands, 1, 2, 3, 4. Or if I kind of snap it here, I don't know if I can snap that fast. I'll pat here and count my numbers, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. That's kind of hard to do with just one hand, right? But it's 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's 8 notes. So 5 plus 3, 8. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 8 hits can go into those 4 beats. And finally, 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, our last type of note that we learned about is called a 16th note, which is confusing because it kind of looks just like an 8th note, right? Except for if you look, 16th notes, remember, have 2 flags coming off of them, 2 little swirly-doos coming off of them, or 2 bars connecting them if there's multiple right next to each other. So a 16th note is worth a quarter of a beat, which makes it a little bit confusing because, you know, quarter note is worth 1, but a 16th note is worth a quarter of a beat. So a 16th note is worth a quarter of a beat, which means just like there's 4 quarter notes in a dollar, not a dollar, 4 quarter notes in a measure, there is 4 16th notes in a single beat. So I could take, like if you had like a big piece of pie, right? Big pie like this, and that was just one beat, just one count in music, you could slice that up into 4 slices. That would be your 16th note. Remember, we call those our pepperonis, or our 1 E and a. So if I was to count it out, I could go pepperoni, 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 pepperoni. I was able to say pepperoni 4 sounds every single time I held up just one number. Pepperoni, 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 right? So there's 4 hits within just that one beat when you play a 16th note. It's a pretty fast note to play, and it's a lot of fun when you get like a wind instrument or like with your drumsticks or rhythm sticks. It's a lot of fun. Okay, final rundown. Whole note with how many beats? Half note. Whole note's worth 4, half note's worth 2. Quarter note is worth 1. Eighth note is worth a half. There's 2 of those hits in one beat. And an eighth note is worth, not eighth note, a 16th note is worth 4 of those hits. All right, great job, you guys. A little bit of an easier review lesson this week. And I will see you guys in our next video. Let's go.